Well, Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Chris Fern, and High Commissioner for Malta, Dashita, Serena, dear friends, it is truly a pleasure to be at this event, which, as I have been informed, is a preview of the launch of the MAANCH platform, which is definitely something up my street, as one can say. I would like to commend you, Dashita, for taking this initiative. It is a very important initiative, as I see it, in today's world. I would also like to commend Serena for making me familiar to what is happening with regards to the MAANCH platform, but also I have come to know Serena as one of those young people, rare young people, that with her quiet personality, but a really impactful personality, always comes to me as a very determined young person, a passionate and enthusiastic young person. To me, she is already an activist for positive change, and also I can see her as a leader tomorrow that will be working enthusiastically, passionately for the sustainability of our planet. So thank you both for making this opportunity, or rather presenting this opportunity to me. Well, we're speaking of the Sustainable Development Goals, the UN Agenda 2030, with its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, with its 169 targets, have been widely approved globally in 2015 at the UN General Assembly by practically all the countries of the world, 193 countries. That is truly widely approved. However, that is 3 years ago. Unfortunately, I do think that even it is when we come to speak in certain fora that we speak of Sustainable Development Goals, they are not as popular as they should have been, or they should be, because you don't go on the street and speak to people about Sustainable Development Goals, and most of them would not know what you're talking about. Though if you speak to them about the climate and how it is changing, how, for example, London has had more sunny days than it usually has, and Malta, for example, has more rainy days than it usually has, that people would understand. However, if we speak of the Sustainable Development Goals, unfortunately, people are not as familiar. And this is, to me, very worrying, because the Sustainable Development Goals are not something that have to be embraced only by politicians or governments, but have to be embraced by each and every one of us. If we truly want to reach the sustainability that our planet needs to have, if our human family really is to thrive in a sustainable world, where yes, nobody is left behind, where equality will be the order of the day, where equity and solidarity should reign. So we need to work harder. And having a digital platform, or this innovative way of presenting the Sustainable Development Goals, but not just that, also monitoring what is happening and encouraging to bring collaboration between different diverse stakeholders is very, very important. We cannot achieve what needs to be achieved by 2030 as established by the United Nations. And by all our countries, practically all our countries have approved in 2015. Nobody can do this single-handedly. So that is the reason that we need to entice all our governments, all our business communities, all civil society, each and every member of our human family, wherever we are in the world. So the best way to do this, yes, is by having this blockchain platform that today is a very groundbreaking innovation of our technology, and which can give the proper transparency and accountability and monitoring system that needs to be done to provide the trust and the visibility of what is actually happening. In Malta, we have already, I have had first experience of how we can bring collaboration between civil society and the business community. And it is very important to bring the business community on board. Businesses can thrive and can make profits and be prosperous if they think also of the people that they are serving. Because businesses do serve people, and prosperity can, and they can increase their prosperity if everybody can actually, if we're speaking of a business in manufacturing, for example, and if there is poverty in that community, so that business providing that certain commodity, it could have 100% supply, or rather demand, so that it can supply. But if there is poverty, that demand will be decreased. So then the supply would be less, and also the profits for that business. So really, businesses have to understand, business communities, really, I'm not speaking of everyone because we have statistics and rather surveys by even PricewaterhouseCoopers that have said during a survey, or rather indicators from a survey, because I brought it here, and I would like to quote it because this is very interesting, that 70% of businesses across the world are already responding to the Sustainable Development Goals. So I must not give the impression that businesses are not on board. 70% of such businesses, and this is scientifically researched, are already on board with regard to and working to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. But we need all hands on deck to ensure that we can together move forward to achieve sustainability on our planet. And this collaboration between businesses and civil society does work. In 2015, I set up the President's Trust. This is a private organization whereby businesses provide funds for social projects. In 3 years, we managed to have 10 different social projects, and we are addressing vulnerability communities of young people who come from vulnerable backgrounds and situations. These 10 initiatives are funded by businesses, as I said, however, are operated by non-government organizations, and then monitored, assessed, and also measured, because measuring is very, very important for people to know that their investment in such social projects are leaving benefits. That the monitoring and the assessment and the measuring is left to the President's Trust. So there is this collaboration which is working. We have already addressed hundreds of young people of the source, and I can give some examples, projects where we are working with teenage mothers, young people coming from vulnerable backgrounds and who are seeking employment, visually impaired children and young people, street children, students coming from multicultural communities, school children living in depressed areas, young people with mental health problems, and children at risk of poverty, amongst others. So these are some of the vulnerable young people that we are working with. We are already measuring the impact there, and we are addressing in the process, through this important collaboration, a number of SDGs, like poverty, which is SDG 1, like health and well-being, SDG 3, quality education, SDG 4, gender equality, that's SDG 5, decent work, which is SDG 8, reduce inequalities, SDG 10, sustainable cities and communities, SDG 11, and strengthening global partnerships for the goals, SDG 17. Because yes, we are not working just on the local level, but we are also reaching out now to international organizations to collaborate on social projects, which we have already been working on. So we have Malta, being a small country, is an ideal, one could say, laboratory to provide toolkits to export to other countries. So now we are also at the phase of going to the next level to show that to showcase our collaboration and the impact that such collaboration have, and export it to others, so as we will not need to reinvent the wheel. But I also, during the same year, I had facilitated another organization through my office, which we call the Core Platform, whereby we have, through the various organizations for businesses and employers, we have brought businesses together with the idea to encourage corporate citizenship and also corporate social responsibility. We call it the Core Platform. This is also working very well, because again, when we speak of corporate social responsibility, we're not just speaking of philanthropy, charity, but we are speaking with regards to a number of intersectional pillars of work that needs to be addressed. One of them, for example, is environment, conditions of work, and all that. So this also, this Core Platform which we have created, is also, we can now as well measure the impact. I am very proud of the fact that most of our businesses in Malta are very aware and very enticed with corporate social responsibility. But I can say that I have seen it grow over these last years, and grow and also become more intensive with regards to what they take on board. On the other hand, however, because this is very important, we are a very proactive country. I'm very proud of our proactive government, and I'm very pleased that our Deputy Prime Minister is with us here, because we have not come for MAANCH only, but we have come for a number of other duties. And I do hope that the Deputy Prime Minister will have some time also to explain, because he has already taken on board a lot with regards to the new technology. Malta is a very proactive country. We have already taken on board blockchain, artificial intelligence, because this is the way forward now. This will soon be, at this point in time, some people still mistrust. So the issue of visibility also for this new technology is very important, because it will soon become the norm, the new norm. And if we do not embrace technology, the new technology, we will be left behind in other ways. So what has been done in my country through my proactive government is we have legislated and regulated blockchain immediately. We are one of the very, very first. I think we could be one of two in the world that we have legislated and regulated blockchain, because we want the serious ones to come to us. And I can tell you that the largest companies are already in Malta setting up shop, so as to ensure, first and foremost, to overcome any skepticism that there might be or mistrust with regards to blockchain. If companies are regulated and there is the legislation, so as to ensure enforcement if there are defaults, but also to ensure the highest consumer protection, because it is not just a one-way thing, but we need to ensure that there are the highest consumer protection regulations in place. We have not just left it to the business side of things. We have also taken on board now, and again through my office, a blockchain charity foundation. And the idea is, yes, to go on the platform, to raise funds for social projects, and to ensure that there is visibility to where those funds are going. This is very important, because businesses who are investing, or philanthropic activists would want to know where those funds are going. And yes, we should all want to know where funds are going. Let's take the European Union, for example, with regards to humanitarian aid. Each and every year, millions of money go into humanitarian aid to Africa. But do the Europeans really know where that money is going to? But with blockchain, we can ensure that if, for example, the European Union, I'm not speaking only of a small organization, I'm speaking of a family of nations, together that are affording millions to go to humanitarian aid. We need to know so that more trust will be put in what we are doing, and then more funds will come into, and we can then ensure that we are investing sustainably. Because it's not just, we do not want, and when we speak of the SDGs, this is a sustainable value system. We want to invest sustainably. We do not want to throw money at the problem, but invest sustainably so that we can reap benefits on the long term, not just on the short term. So what we have done, created this Blockchain Charity Foundation so that while funds are very important and need to be raised, but also to give the full satisfaction, the full transparency, accountability, to ensure that whoever is funding would know that he or she are reaching the recipients and the objectives of those particular funds. So as I can see, MAANCH would be on a similar level, different, and I think we, as we said before, Dashita, we need to speak because there is also room for collaboration with what we are doing in Malta and what can be done with MAANCH. I don't think when we speak, we cannot do it single-handedly. No country, no government on its own, but all citizens, all businesses, also foundations or platforms like ours, so that we can see and we can ensure that we will not duplicate work, because that would be waste of resources, waste of time. And our planet and our human family cannot wait anymore. Cannot wait anymore. We've waited long enough. And if we want really to have a sustainable way forward, we cannot waste any time. In this sense, I want to speak, or rather, I believe that our young people have to be enticed, and that's why I've mentioned Serena, and I mentioned Serena again. We need more people like Serena to come on board as young people, because we need activists today, because tomorrow we'll need you and young people to be the leaders of tomorrow, to continue with this mission, with this very and urgent mission, to make our planet sustainable again, to ensure that nobody is left behind. It is shameful for us in this day and age when we speak of new technologies, groundbreaking innovations every day of the year, and then we still have people in Africa and Asia, in our countries, in Europe, that still do not have their mind at rest, that they can go home and sit down for a proper meal, a healthy meal. In Europe itself, 1 in 4 are at risk of poverty, and this issue of risk, people in Malta know me very much for my direct way of saying things, and I am made that way, and I will explain. Whoever is at risk can easily, and in no time, can fall off the cliff. So being at risk of poverty to me is being poor. Because if you're at risk, you do not have peace of mind. You will be thinking if in the evening you'll have enough for supper. 1 in 4 in our European countries are at risk of poverty. It is so shameful. How can this be? How can this be? How can this be that the African continent, which is a continent of opportunity, it will be the next emerging economy, we still, as Europeans, think of it as the problematic country, continent that brings in the migrants. It is because it has been looted and continue to be looted, unfortunately, and because we are not proactive enough, and we're not thinking outside the box of how we can do better, because we need to grow, we need to prosper, we need to increase our GDPs, but we cannot increase our GDPs by thinking within ourselves. We need to think outside, and the next, or rather the nearest of the places that we can think of is investing sustainably in Africa. And I'm convinced that if as Europeans invest sustainably in Africa, there will be no problem anymore of migrants, because migrants do not want to leave their families and their country if they're not at war. But if they are at war, obviously, as we have done in the past during the world wars, we have moved from one place to another as Europeans to escape the scourge of war. But there are countries in Africa that their young people are moving because they need to regain their dignity, to get employment. But if the Europeans think outside the box and invest sustainably in Africa, then there will be no more challenges of this issue of the migration phenomenon. China's already in Africa, investing widely and spreadly. And if the Chinese see that Africa has potential, I am a bit surprised how the Europeans are not seeing Africa as potential. We need to think in a way and see, not just up to our noses, but further afield, because even though my age, I mean, I've had a good life, I must think of the generations to come. We cannot think just for tomorrow, but we need to really think ahead. Africa, by 2050, it will double its population. It is already in the region of about 60% of its population being young people. So we need to think how we cannot think in isolation, but we need to think of us as one human family, because that is whom we are. We are one human family. So this issue of the SDGs, sustainability, transparency, contributing, collaborating, connecting should be our way forward. And we need young people to be with us. Let me quote, because I brought a quote here from the UN Interagency. Yes, this is it. It's the United Nations Interagency on New Development. And I will quote, "Young people are key SDG accelerators. Drawing on youth expertise, know-how, networks, and adopting promising practices for youth engagement sets the stage for the discovery of innovative solutions and actions which can multiply development gains over the lifetime of the 2030 Agenda." And I really do believe this, and this from my own experience. When I go to schools in Malta, and I have been also to schools in London, one of the schools where Serena used to go about 2 years ago, I think, and I had this opportunity to engage with young people there. This is a regular task that I take. I engage with young people, and young people want a peaceful world. They want everybody to thrive. They do not want just to survive, but they want to thrive, and to thrive not in an isolated way, but to thrive together. And that's why I can understand so well what the UN Interagency for Youth have said there. Because yes, young people want to do much more than we think. And we need to bring our young people. There are 1.4 billion young people in the world. That is 14% of our population. We need to bring the young people to the table to show us the way. And we have a responsibility to our young generation. We have a responsibility in terms, because the world is really lended to us to make it better for them. And we need to know their aspirations to ensure that we are truly and effectively making it better. Well, I will stop here. I don't know if probably I'm over time now, but I would like to encourage each and every one of us to go out there and encourage others to join us. We must work together to ensure that we will have a planet, a world that can thrive and not just survive. Thank you.